How do you know when you're looking at a good deal when you're analyzing properties? I'm going to share some basic real estate terminology and calculations that you need to know as a rookie. Hey guys, I'm Tyler Madden. I'm a general contractor who specializes in luxury remodels here in Denver, Colorado. While running my own business, I also invest in value-add real estate locally with my wife. As you listen, make sure to check out the other resources linked below. Go ahead, like and subscribe to the biggerpockets Rookie YouTube channel so you don't miss anything. So you have all the Redfin or Zillow criteria set, you're on wholesalers lists, you're seeing deals, but how do you know it's actually a good deal? It's important to understand how to calculate a deal and what some of these terms mean. It can all seem so confusing. You're dealing with the NOI, the cap rates, the cash-on-cash return, but let's take a minute and let's break some of these down to give you a little more comfort. When I got started with real estate investing, I had to start at the very beginning, like I was in elementary school learning something entirely new. All the calculations, all the terms, they meant nothing to me and I was completely lost. But what I did is I pulled up Google and Amazon and YouTube, and you know what I found? I found the biggerpockets calculator, I found the biggerpockets YouTube channels, and I learned so much from so many intelligent people. And I'm hoping that despite not being a mathematician, I can teach you a thing or two about some calculations and some terminology. So let's get started. When talking about real estate calculations, I'm going to focus primarily on those important to buy and hold real estate investors. It's important to calculate appropriately, no matter if you're planning on flipping or holding the property, however. As an aspiring investor, it's important to understand that investing is largely just a function of being able to interpret different mathematical equations to determine whether a property is a good deal or not. Now, you don't have to be an absolute expert at this, but you do need to understand these calculations and what they represent. Not every equation and calculation will always apply to you or your deal, and no single calculation should be the end-all be-all for a potential deal. But they're all here for you to be better informed and to be able to look for a deal from multiple different perspectives when evaluating and analyzing these deals. So for the sake of making this video a little bit longer, we're going to go through a few definitions. Let's rattle off a few definitions that as a rookie you might be a little unfamiliar with, or just something that is good to have in your back pocket as something you're more familiar with. Let's talk about a mortgage. A mortgage is a loan used to buy a house or real estate. In other words, it's a fancy term for a home loan. PITI is an acronym that is thrown around a lot, and if you're just getting started, this might be something that catches you for a loop. All this is referring to is the essential elements of your mortgage payment. It's going to be your principal, your interest, your taxes, and your insurance. So those are all non-negotiables when you have a property. You've got to pay all of those when you have a mortgage. So let's get into some calculations. The NOI, or the net operating income. The NOI equals all the revenue from the property minus all the necessary operating expenses. So your expenses, like we just mentioned, are going to be your taxes, your insurance, your operating costs, your property management, all of the things that are reasonable to spend to make the property work. So the calculation is as follows. NOI equals income minus expenses. How much does a property actually make after all your expenses? That's all this calculation is. Let's get into the cap rate, or the capitalization rate. It's the rate of return on a real estate investment property based on the income that that property is expected to generate. The cap rate is used to estimate your potential return on your investment. So the calculation is as follows. Cap rate equals NOI, or the net operating income, divided by the sales price. Beware that the cap rate is generally not used in residential real estate, meaning anything that's 4 units and lower, you probably don't need to know as much about cap rates. So rookies, unless you're getting into a strip mall or larger multifamily properties, 5 and above, don't get too caught up on cap rates just yet. Next, we're going to talk about maybe one of the most important, or at least one of my favorite metrics to keep track of, and that's going to be the cash-on-cash return. This calculation shows the rate of return based on the amount of cash you have invested. The calculation is going to be annual cash flow divided by the cash you leave in the deal. It'll show you a percentage where 100% return means that you get all of your invested money back from the cash flow from the property over 1 year. Higher than 100% means you get the invested money back faster than 1 year. And an infinite cash-on-cash return means that you get all of your money back right away, like in a perfect burr. Here's a quick example of the cash-on-cash return on one of my recent deals. I ended up leaving about $21,000 of my own funds in this deal after refinancing. With the new mortgage, the property cash flows about $2,800 a month, which translates to $34,000 a year. So the calculation would be 34,000 divided by 21,000 gives me a return of 1.16% or 161% cash on cash return. You might be saying, those are just numbers and that doesn't mean anything to me. Is that good? Is that bad? What's a good cash on cash return? Let's think about a different method of investing, like maybe the stock market, and assume that we want an investment vehicle that beats the stock market where you can be totally passive. The stock market is routinely providing maybe 7 to 9% annual returns. So it stands to reason that any real estate investment that provides better returns than that is a good investment opportunity. Many investors look for a 10 to 12% return as a baseline of what they're willing to accept on their investments. Bear in mind that these investors are also likely to be completely passive in those deals. You can definitely earn much higher returns than this minimum, but it also requires much more significant levels of work from you. For me to get this 161% return, I had to sacrifice a ton of time and I had to self-perform so much more work than most people are willing. So you have to weigh where you want to be on the passive versus active spectrum. Do you want a job or do you just want to park your money somewhere? Let that be your guiding light on what an agreeable minimum cash on cash return is for you. So let's go through a few definitions that'll also play into your analysis and your understanding of making a deal happen. Let's talk about equity. Equity is the difference between the market value of a property, or the ARV, your after repair value, and the amount of money that is still owed on the loan. So for example, if you've got a property and you have a mortgage that is $300,000, but that house appraises for $400,000, you have $100,000 of equity in that property. Another equation and calculation that is worth understanding, but maybe not always held to the highest of standards, is the 1% rule. This measures the price of investment property against the gross income that it'll generate. So let's break that down and say it in layman's terms. For a potential investment to pass the 1% rule, its monthly rent must be equal to or no less than 1% of the purchase price. You purchase a property for $200,000. In order to hit that 1% rule, you need to rent that property for $2,000 a month. This example is relatively feasible, but as properties get more expensive, it's harder and harder to achieve the 1% rule. An $800,000 property that rents for $8,000 a month, that's a little tougher to get, wouldn't you say? Certain markets in general are pretty difficult to satisfy this rule. Like Denver, for instance, the lowest price point you can get for a single family home is around $400,000. And then you have to park a bunch more money into it to make it worth more. I'll tell you right now, that's probably not going to rent for $4,000 a month. Just because a deal doesn't fulfill this calculation doesn't mean it's a bad deal. You should certainly entertain all applicable calculations in your market, things that actually apply, before making a determination whether to move forward with a deal or whether to pass it up. Do you love analyzing deals? It's important to analyze as many deals as you can daily. Not all deals work, but there are a lot that do. And remember that every property has a price that makes it a good deal. So be sure you understand what each rule and each calculation really is showing you when you do your analysis. Let me know in the comments what you like to look for in your market, because it does differ from market to market. If you're not subscribed to this channel, hit that subscribe button. Let's become BFFs. You'll get notified every time we post a new video. We're posting new videos weekly to help real estate rookies get started just like you. If you're ready to take the next step with us, I recommend you go check out this next video because we've got everything you need covered. Thanks for listening, everybody. I'm Tyler Madden, not a mathematician, like I said, but feel free to follow me in my business and investing journey on Instagram. I'm at Tyler Madden, and I appreciate you coming by, and we'll see you soon.